finished Running on Empty in February of 2010. Frankly, after filming Running on Empty, I was very burnt out personally because Running Empty was a huge undertaking. It was a big film. And so I was personally very tired after doing that, and I didn't want to take on anything big. And so I decided that 2010 would be my year for short films. I was approached at work by a friend of mine, Will Sweat. He came up with this idea for Dave Poston to reprise his role as the taxi cab driver in Bullies.
Hey, how far would $20 get me?
Not far.
It was Dave's first role he played with us, first role he worked with us. And so my friend at work, Will Sweat, came up with this idea of, why don't you make this film about him and his day before the beginning of Bullies. So it was like a prequel. Kind of fun being behind the camera the whole time. I got to control things a lot more. The days we were shooting that was unbelievable. It was cold and it was raining out the whole day. It was a lot of fun to film in that weather because it gave a very much the vision I wanted for the movie, which was this kind of empty and lonely world. I wanted to cast Matt Anderson for this part because he was in No One Leaves This Town and Running on Empty, and he didn't have many lines in either one of them. He just was the bad guy that ends up dying at the end of both movies, so I wanted to give him something where he didn't die. I think Dave does a good job carrying the scene. It was unique because it was a type of pace of film that we have never shot before. We did action films, we've done comedies, we've never done anything quite this pace. So that was fun to film.
Funny guy, ain't you? I'm a real barrel of laughs.
Obsession was the second short film we had filmed. Me and my brother Ernie had been doing fight scenes for a long time, some date way back. So we just randomly started going and came up with this idea for this very short one-day shoot fight scene. We got to do all the stuff we hadn't had opportunity to do before. We got to use a lot of blood makeup. We got to use breakaway boards. We got to knock stuff over. And we shot it in one day too. So that was always neat when you can get a short film out of the way in one day. One of the biggest comments I've had on Obsession was how good my brother Ernie does at playing the psycho. I kind of pushed him a little bit. I said, why don't you say something like this or something like that? But he just made up all that. It was pretty funny because I had a lot of people say, wow, he plays a really good psycho, but it was just completely ad-libbed. I really like the fight. I think it's one of the best fights we've ever done. I think the cinematography is just the way I wanted it to be. The hand-to-hand stuff is just perfect. Exactly the way I wanted it to be. Whether you like it or not doesn't matter to me. Me and Ernie think it's the best fight scene we've probably ever filmed.
Guten Tag!
Solltet wieder beim Degen erwischen. Ich schneide deinen ab. Verstanden?
Childlike was originally supposed to be called Child's Play, but I found out, I guess there was a horror movie that was named that. I didn't know that, so I changed the name to Childlike. Wouldn't it be fun to do just a short cloak and dagger type of short film? I wanted to add another element to it. There were a couple things I wanted to do with this. One, I didn't want to do any of the action in it. Not for the sake I don't like doing action, but I want to prove to people that I could actually act. I thought it'd be fun kind of playing this bad guy type character, interrogating the good guy spy. I was talking to a friend of mine who is a Bosnian who grew up in Germany, and he can speak fluent German. So I came up with this idea, wouldn't it be really cool to have a German-speaking scene in it. So I wrote out the script and what I wanted to have said in German. I sent it to him and he translated it for us. And what I found out is how very, very, very difficult it is to learn German. Luckily for me and him working in the same department, I would stop him at work and say, hey, am I pronouncing this correctly? So between Dean and Mark Wilson, I think me and Dave pulled off a pretty good German-speaking scene. It was a lot of fun seeing Dave say Guten Tag. Personally, I think it's the best line he's ever said. I had Ian Wilson behind the camera, Mark Wilson acting, Ernie was there, Dave was there, and me, so there's just a 5-person crew. It was fun writing little things like subtitles. We shot the whole short film in probably around 5 hours. Went really smooth. The photography came out the way I wanted to. Acting was right there, the action was right there. I really liked Childlike. It was a lot of fun to film, and I enjoy watching it.
Max. Max. Fight him. No, I don't fight. It's not like I'm a pacifist or anything. I just can't fight, and it just.
I really, really liked the script because it was simple, but it was one of those scripts that just wrote itself out really quickly. It was so much fun to film this character because he's such a scoundrel and a kind of a pain in the ass and this little adventurer. life. One of the first characters I play who cannot fight to save his life. I actually did quite a few stunts in that movie. I did get dinged up a couple times. I got to film in a restaurant. The owner let us go in there, and he was very gracious. We came there like a couple hours before they opened up. They cleaned up a little bit, let us go in, we filmed our stuff, and we left. Max, for the most part, was very easy for me to film. I had Ian Wilson behind the camera a lot, and Ian's a great cameraman. I didn't have to worry about where the camera was going to go. I didn't have to worry about Mark. I didn't have to worry about Ernie. Ernie knew his lines. Mark knew his lines. Ian knew how to use the camera. It was fun to do like a simple adventure. To do little things like sneaking into a house and doing this little mystery investigation thing, you know. Jumping to the back of pickup trucks. And there's a lot of real fun things to film in this film. It was a blast. Max is a very different film. It was a different pace because it's not a thriller. It's kind of a mystery type adventure. It's very much into like the British mystery comedies like Lovejoy or Campion or something simple. There wasn't a hell of a lot to it. It was kind of more the fun of seeing this guy run around and get in trouble. So I really enjoyed filming Max. 2010 was a big year. It was end of Running on Empty, you know. Big film, out of the way, 4 short films shot. It was a good time. It was a really good time. I'm happy and I'm proud of the crew and the people I got to work with in all these. I had a lot of fun. I hope I get to work with all these people again. I hope I get to just continue on doing this. So there's my 2010 review of what we did. Hope you enjoy. I'm Terrence Trainer. Good night.